So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Green morning, green afternoon, and green evening world over, wherever you are. All our brothers and sisters, those are in Canada, those are in United States, those are in Latin America. We extend you a very hearty welcome. This is the third webinar on Sunday. We started in the morning at 9:30, and we just finished a little while before with you India ASEAN series. And this is the third program which we bring to you on Sunday evening. Our regular timing 7 to 8 p.m. That's a Monday to Sunday, and Sunday is dedicated to micro, small, and medium enterprises. It's a pleasure to have our distinguished guest this evening. I have got dignitaries and my esteemed guests. Before I get over to them, and before I bring my warriors of today to you, let me share a couple of slides so that those are joining us today from the world over. We all are on the common frequency, but before that, from Canada, Latin America, and United States, let me move to Europe. You all must have enjoyed your lunch and post-lunch before you go for your evening tea, and you enjoy your cup of coffee. Let's have some notes together, because the micro, small, and medium enterprise, when we talk about world over, during this COVID-19 and during this pandemic, it has got lots of challenges, particularly because when I talk about my own particular area of specialization. Of course, my father was in army, my grandfather in army. I also joined army, and way back from 1973 onwards. And destiny had something else in the storage. Coming up to the rank of major, I had to switch over and I had to shift. And that is the time I did my master's and I my PhD both into service industry. And I moved on deputation from the Indian Army to the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, set up the first National Institute for Tourism for the Ministry of Tourism, and drafted the first MBA Tourism for Government of India for the Ministry of Tourism in India. When I meet my travel agents, my tour operator, my tourist transporters, my excursionist, my ecotourism, my culture tourism, my beach tourism, my whatever I talk about, my tourism industry at present is having a biggest heat. The second area of specialization which I hold, that is the hospitality. And when I talk about the hotel industry, restaurant industry, because during our period, I still remember there used to be a diploma earlier from the hotel management. And thereafter we went to IGNOU and we got it converted to the degree program. And then the bachelor degree was being awarded to all the students joining the IHM program. So ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about today, this particular evening, you can't imagine how many people from tourism, how many people from hospitality, how many people from retail, how many people from media entertainment, how many people from some other verticals what we have got. But at the same time, necessity is the mother of invention. Always you have got new pedagogies, you've got new andragogies, and you have got new ventures. Imagine the 2008, you have the financial crisis, and you got Uber, you got Ola, you got Airbnb, and you got many new ventures which came world over. So anyway, there are many other areas we will talk in the wellness sector, health sector, and there is not much of difference in hospitality and hospital today when I look at, except the doctors, nurses, and supporting staff, rest all the paraphernalia what you talk about, right from the front office management, operation, administration, your food management, your wear and tears, accounts, whatever you talk about, all that is similar. Like it happens in a hotel, it happens in a hospital if you go to the 5-star. So similar way, wellness sector, when you talk about gyms, when you talk about all the areas, the new equipments are coming: yoga, meditation, naturopathy, nutrition, organic, and rooftop farming. During this COVID-19, we have started doing a lot of organic farming right in my residence. Each and every corner of my residence, no vegetable purchase from outside. Everything is grown at home from 25th of March onward, because education is practical. This entire series, Monday to Sunday, what we bring to you is the main area is making education relevant. And when we are talking about making education relevant, in that we have got skills, we have got competencies, you have got vocationals, you have got internships, you have got a number of areas. And particularly under the dynamic and dedicated leadership of Shri Ravindra ji, the CMD, the former CMD of NSIC, the prime organization under the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise. I still recall, I still recollect going to the corridors from our chamber, ICSI, International Chamber from Service Industry. 3 years we have been meeting the secretary, the additional secretary, and all the stakeholders in the ministry, including the CMD of the NSIC. And I'm so happy, so delighted that, look, all of us, we keep making the white papers, action plan, roadmap, strategies, innovative strategies, dynamic strategies, and whatever we come. When it sees the daylight, it gives a great soothing to you. You feel you have not worked hard, and whatsoever you did, that has come into relevance and for the universe, for the society, for the community. So ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely happy that our chamber, International Chamber for Service Industry, which submitted the papers that manufacturing and services have to be brought at par, finally it saw the daylight. And the Honorable Finance Minister of India, Nirmala Sitharamanji, when she was talking about the 5 different pillars in the verticals of the Honorable Prime Minister of India's vision, and she mentioned over there, ladies and gentlemen, now micro, small and medium enterprise, as far as the treatment is concerned, the manufacturing and services would be taken at par. So don't worry, all the people, those are in these areas, what I have discussed with, not to worry, there are new opportunities, new areas, new avenues, new startups, and new things will come up because the crisis will keep coming, and that is the name of the society and civilization and the humanity. Tell me, kaun se yug ke andar samasyaएं nahi aayi aur problem nahi aayi? So wishing you a very hearty welcome right from Canada, from the US, from the Latin America, from the Europe. Let me come now to Central Asia. Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, wherever you are, and you're joining this particular series, we are grateful to you. Thank you very much for becoming our strength. And the people, those are in South Asia, we extend a very hearty welcome to our brothers and sisters from Afghanistan, from Bhutan, from Nepal, from Sri Lanka, from Maldives. Thank you very much for joining us. Going to the Middle East all the way to Doha, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, Dubai, and Saudi Arabia, all the places, wherever you're joining us from, great and a hearty welcome to each one of you. Thank you for joining. And let me just swirl across the India and take you all the way to 650 million population. Those have got quite a common features in cuisine, culture, art, craft, handicraft. And imagine those 10 beautiful countries, 650 million population, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, Brunei, all the 10 countries when I talk about, they are doing wonderful and they are growing the fastest economy when you talk about this particular region, and particularly Vietnam is doing very well in education, Singapore is doing very well. So all that we have to take into considerations. And when I bring you from there a little further, it's quite late, but people are awake in Seoul. People are there in Taiwan, and people are also, I'm saying, my God, when I just got a call a little while before, and I got to understand from the technocrats why people prefer to come on the Facebook, why they want to come on the chat parties, why they don't want to disclose their identity and log in directly in the webinar. They feel like coming over there, and various groups they join from world over. They say we are more comfortable. Well, your comfort is our comfort, your happiness is our happiness, and your soothing is our soothing. That's the way we move on and we take it on. So ladies and gentlemen, भारत में आते हैं और भारत में आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है, और भारत की सारी जनता, भारत के सभी राज्यों में जहां जहां पर लोग हैं और जो इस प्रोग्राम को इसके साथ जुड़े हुए हैं और इस माध्यम से हमारे साथ हैं, आज की शाम, आज की संध्या, आप सबका बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन, आप सब लोगों का बहुत बहुत स्वागत। और इस समय जब कोरोना के केसेस बढ़ रहे हैं, तो याद रखिए फिजिकल डिस्टेंसिंग और जो भी नॉर्म्स बताए गए हैं उनका ख्याल रखिए। Don't come into the trap of the corona, because you got to be very careful about it, because unless you don't allow corona to come near you, it will not come near you. But when you invite it, then nobody can save you. So thereby I would request you, of course people are recovering, they are getting better, and they're coming out of the hospitals also, but why to get into the hospital? That is the question. You've got to be taking care of yourself. So जिन भी राज्यों में जहां जहां पर भी हैं, हम आपसे निवेदन करेंगे, हमारी प्रार्थना है, अपना ख्याल रखिए, अपने परिवार का ख्याल रखिए, अपने आसपास के लोगों का ख्याल रखिए, अपने समाज के सभी लोग जो आपके साथ जुड़े हैं उनका ख्याल रखिए। और यदि आप स्वस्थ हैं तो भारत स्वस्थ है, और भारत स्वस्थ है तो विश्व स्वस्थ है, क्योंकि भारत को पुनः विश्व गुरु बनना है। और भारत की नई एजुकेशन पॉलिसी 2020 भी आ गई, जिसमें वोकेशनल भी आ गया, इंटर्नशिप भी आ गई, स्किल भी आ गई, कॉम्पिटेंसीज भी आ गई, एंड ऑल दैट व्हाट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन. Today is Sunday. It's a beautiful Sunday, and in the evening I'm talking to you at 12 minutes past at 7 o'clock in India. So those are joining us very late evening from Japan, from different cities. My deep gratitude and thanks to all of you. Sapporo, Hokkaido, Kobe, Kyoto, Fukuoka, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Yokohama, Tokyo, wherever you are, thanks a lot. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for being a part of this particular webinar. And let me share a couple of slides with you, so that because every day we get new people, those join us and they understand. Okay. Our chamber, International Chamber for Service Industry, is operational since 1994. I left the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India in 93. And thereafter, the confluence of the non-resident Indian from world over, you got to be proud of it, that there are 30 million non-resident Indian plus at this point of time world over. Initially, from 1994 to 2003, there used to be a Punjabi Parvasi Divas in Guru Gobind Singh Stadium in Jalandhar with the confluence of Punjabis. Those have gone world over. On a lighter note, if I share with all of you, I do not know. The young boys, when I ask them, why do you want to go abroad? What is the purpose of going abroad? Now the Honorable Prime Minister of India and the Education Minister is also telling कि यहाँ की विरासत यही रखिए, यहाँ की स्किल यही रखिए, यहाँ की कॉम्पिटेंसी यही रखिए, यहाँ के IIT और IIM में पढ़ के यहाँ का सब कुछ लेके आप उसके बाद बाहर चले जाते हैं. What do you repatriate back to your own economy, your country, your civilization is very important. For that matter, ladies and gentlemen, मुझे तो कई बार ऐसा लगता है कि पंजाब का हर बच्चा ये सोचता है, मैं यहाँ से जाऊंगा, हवाई जहाज से उतरूंगा, डोनाल्ड ट्रंप साहब अपनी बेटी को लेके आएंगे और बोलेंगे, दामाद जी आप आ गए हो, अमेरिका को भी संभालो, बिटिया को भी संभालो, आप हमारे दामाद हैं, कितने अच्छे हैं आप आए हैं पंजाब से, आइए, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है, जी आया नु. और उसके बाद बेचारा एक हफ्ते के बाद गैस स्टेशन पे पेट्रोल भर रहा होता है, नहीं तो कहीं बर्गर बना रहा होता है, नहीं तो कहीं सबवे स्टेशन पे होता है. Now what I want to tell you is, you know how much is the revenue leakage from India? 8 lakh youth going abroad for education. How much is the economic leakage from India at this point of time? We all got to understand that. Anyway, let me get back to that. 1994, when we started with Punjabi Parvasi Divas. In 2003, then the Honorable Prime Minister of India, on 18th of September, I still recollect, there was a meeting, and during that particular get-together, it was decided that now with Punjabi Parvasi Divas, we also start Bharatiya Parvasi Divas. And that was the birth, and that gave the whole fillip to the whole program and everything. And then the Bharatiya Parvasi Divas started from 2003 in India under the aegis of Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. And now at present, you have got all vibrations, vibrant Gujarat, vibrant Tamil Nadu, vibrant Telangana, vibrant Kerala, vibrant, I would say Andhra Pradesh, vibrant Karnataka, everything is vibrant. So it's a global vibration by Indians, and that is the way. So ladies and gentlemen, hearty welcome to you on behalf of International Chamber for Service Industry this evening. And we are the one for the government, corporate, and the non-resident Indians business interface when we talk about. During lockdown, we know thought processes are affected, business is affected, physical and mental health is affected. Main part of the universe, your education is also deeply affected. 1.8 billion children are at present away from schools, colleges, and institutions. But India always believes in, you also live happily and we also live happily. अरे काहे के लिए भैया एक दूसरे के साथ कोई प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट करनी है? तुम भी ठीक रहो, सारा विश्व ठीक रहे, सब ठीक से रहें. It is a Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, you got to understand. One world, one love, one family. That's the way everybody has to get across to. Heartiest congratulations to Honorable Prime Minister of India, Education Minister of India, and all the stakeholders. The new education policy 2020 announced on 29th of July. It's changed after 34 years. 1986 was the last policy. And ladies and gentlemen, this particular policy empowers India a global knowledge superpower. If it is implemented in totality, it will bring revolution. It will make India as the global hub for education. Ladies and gentlemen, from 5th of June, the World Environment Day, we started a series making education relevant. And we are talking about what skills are required. What is the purpose of education? Why to go to school? Why to go to college? Why to go to institution? If that particular education is not going to get you any economic activity, then are we at the right place? We got to understand. And at the same time, I wish to share with all of you 1.6 billion, 1.6 billion US dollar equivalent is the loan taken by American students for studying in various universities. Imagine how much money and what exactly educational institutions are thinking at this point of time. I'm not counting the other money which has been taken from other institutions. Anyway, we started this journey on 5th of June on the World Environment Day because the entire research which we collected from the world over, we have come to know that the next crisis, the global crisis, is going to be on the shortage of consumable and particularly drinking water. When we talk about water, water crisis, water shortage, so at present children are at home. Our request to parents is kindly teach your children, share your knowledge with them, and they have got a lot of creativity. Let them also share their knowledge with you. Let's save every drop of the water. Women empowerment is very, very important. When you educate a male member, you educate individual. When you educate a female child, you educate next 7 generations. That's the way we have to look at. Look at this. During this coronavirus time, there's a girl who studied in Canada, came all the way back to India, and she is a daughter of one of the leading corporate who is on the water saving mission, and he's becoming advisor with our chamber now, and he's getting all the stakeholders. Those are into water management, strategies and innovations. This girl, after coming back from Canada, after getting a study from abroad, she has started startup. And this startup is basically on Khadi sustainability. And she's at present supplying to the armed forces, to the police, to the paramilitary and other people, wherever it is possible. And it's a pure cotton, it's a pure Khadi. That's what she's working in the direction. God bless this child. And God bless many others, those are starting the startups wherever they are. Monday to Friday, pure education we talk about. We get the stakeholders, and Saturday morning, ladies and gentlemen, we get to the stakeholder. 500 million plus people world over are the followers of Buddhism. So Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya, International Buddhist Confederation, Secretary General, he gets the stakeholder and the confluence of the world over Buddhist people. And we are talking about what is the relevance of Buddha's teachings in today's education system. The new education policy has come. What is the relevance of Buddha's teaching in that? It's a wonderful session, which is every Saturday morning at 9:30. Then comes Saturday evening and 7 to 8 p.m. Like today is Sunday, and we are talking about the micro, small, and medium enterprise. But imagine every Saturday evening, we talk about your wellness, we talk about your health, yoga, meditation, naturopathy, nutrition, organic, good thought process, positive thought process, how to live positive, talk positive, walk positive, dream positive, everything positive, positive, positive. No anxiety, no stress, no depression. Everybody got to remain happy. Boost your immunity as much as you can. Then comes the Sunday morning. Today morning, this morning, we had a wonderful integrative series of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and 10 principal Upanishad, that is Vidya se Adhyatam, Vidya ki Aur, where we have already done 18 chapters of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And now we are talking about the main Upanishads of India. And no religion, it is totally, purely what is the relevance of that particular Vedas and Upanishad in today's education system. That is the way, because our chamber doesn't belong to anybody, it is a universal chamber. Right. Now let's come on to just before this program. This has started at 7 o'clock. 5 o'clock, I had a program which finished at 6:40, and this was India ASEAN series, where we had the global expertise from the world over, and this was right from Myanmar, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and all those countries, and Cambodia. And this was under the dynamic and dedicated leadership of our president, who is based out of Thailand, and Dato Ramesh Kodamalji, who is the co-chairman of the ASEAN India Business Council out of Kuala Lumpur, and then our advisor based out of Cambodia. Then we had the lady from the education expertise from Myanmar, and then we had the Coca-Cola CFO, and then we had the Nestle head of Cambodia, and for that particular region, who shared the thought process with us. Ladies and gentlemen, world over, wherever you are watching this particular program, those are, because few countries are left over. Mauritius, Port Louis, people are watching. Seychelles, people are joining us. Africa continent, when I talk about, those are in South Africa, those are in Uganda, those are in Kenya, those are in Angola, those are in Senegal, and a couple of other countries, Mozambique also. We extend you a very warm welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming. Should you need any support, anything from our chamber, we would be more than happy to empower your education system in your own country. Now, from 25th of March till 15th of August, our chamber has carried out the research, and that entire research has been synthesized. And when I talk about the confluence of that research, the new golden triangle, it is no more Delhi, Agra, Jaipur. This is the new golden triangle I'll share with you. It is no more B2B, business to business. It's called back to basics. You got to take back to basics of life. Sustainable model you have to. Number one, you got to cater for your basic food. That is something very important. And if you can grow the vegetables right at your residence, I would request next week the CMD of NSIC former, and who is heading this particular program, to get one or two experts who can talk about how we can have rooftop organic farming. And that could also be a micro, small and medium enterprise. There could be some other people who can talk about what is to be done in animal husbandry, because these are the subject they have got. अगर मेरे पास बेसिक अनाज होगा, बेसिक खाने की कला, मेरे पास भोजन होगा, तो मेरी आधी समस्याएं खत्म हो जाएंगी. So for that matter, why do you want to depend for everything and you want the government should do, whether the state government or the central government? अरे भाई, खुद भी तो जिम्मेवारी कुछ ले लो ना. सब कुछ सरकार से मत मांगो. वो जितना कर सकते हैं वो कर रहे हैं. हमें भी तो कुछ करना है. हम सब लोगों को भी तो कुछ जुड़ना है कहीं ना कहीं. So under micro, small and medium enterprise, be innovative, be creative, think about it. And whatever support you need from our chamber, we would be more than happy to take your project to Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Food Processing, Ministry of Animal Husbandry, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise. Wherever you need a support, we'll be more than happy to support you. But the thing is, some initiative, and you have to think out of the box. This particular pandemic and coronavirus has taught all of us, we got to think out of the box. Number two, health, herbal and happiness. That is something very important. Wellness is a very important factor, ladies and gentlemen, for future. And third part is, those are in education. Education is going to be totally transparent. No more hidden agenda. Now principals and the vice chancellors, they are laughing. They are not principal. They are not the vice chancellors. They say now the principals are parents, because they are watching how your school is teaching, how this particular teacher is teaching, and the flip mode, the digital mode, the blended mode. Outside the classroom is the future as far as education is concerned. If we think that education will get back to what it used to be in January and February, then I think you are dreaming in month of August. Let's get back to the reality. The technology, which has come as a tsunami, it was supposed to come in phases, and we were to adapt this entire thing in the next 8 to 10 years. But it has come, you got to adopt it, because now education is transparent. And now, if you are teaching well, if you're a good teacher, people would love you, they'll come to your institution. And one more surprise we would like to give you, that people, particularly in Google, in IBM, in Apple, in Bank of America, in Netflix, and McDonald's already on the ground, they all are thinking to set up their own colleges and universities. They have realized that the product which is coming of the colleges and university, we got to skill them, we got to upskill them, we got to reskill them, and that time whatsoever we are taking. And they say, hey, who is dictating the terms? Are colleges and universities dictating terms, or we are dictating the term? Are we the one who has taken the technology to colleges and universities, or they're the one those have brought to the corporate sector? So ladies and gentlemen, McDonald's, like they have already opened their own university. You'll be surprised to know who are the teachers. Teachers are the one, those are making the burgers, those are making the coffee, because it's all practical. Ultimately, what's the purpose of education? Why the degree? Why that piece of paper? We got to understand. And speed is the buzzword which we have to understand. By the time the curriculum gets changed, it goes to the next committee, the next committee, then the next committee, and by the time it gets implemented, it's already obsolete. So we got to understand corporate sector is not going to wait on that. The colleges and universities, you're going to have nightmare in the times to come. We got to understand which way the things are. And particularly, this new education policy is going to give a lot of competition, because the foreign universities, those will come over here, and the digital education has already started. Online, 650 institutions are already having collaboration in online learning. So education is going to be competitive. Education is not going to be costly. It is going to be competitive. It is going to be creative. And technology is going to play a very important role. We all got to understand. This is the last slide before I introduce my today's warriors to you and I hand over the stage to them. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. It's very important for all of us to understand. So let's come together. Let's make education relevant. Let's make skills, competencies, vocationals, and internship something relevant to our entire system. This particular platform which we have started, it's a global confluence of educators, motivators, technocrats, counselors, wellness experts, corporate, government administrators, and decision makers. Those are in different verticals, in different areas. Sustainable development practical model is the solution. So International Chamber for Service Industry extends you a very hearty welcome from world over. Should you wish to join as a panelist, or you want to send any suggestions, you can send us at innovation@ICSI.Asia. Should you wish to send any WhatsApp, you can. Now this evening, I'm going to give a small surprise to Shri Ravindra Nathji, because he's the one who is going to chair the session and who is going to take the discussions further. Before I introduce today's warriors, I want to show you our chamber own micro, small, and medium enterprise venture for just 2.5 minutes during this lockdown, when the entire industry of media entertainment is closed. Ladies and gentlemen, to empower Indian education system. And when I read more and more books about Nalanda University, Takshila, and what all was happening, and how India was the Vishwaguru, jahan dal dal par sone ki chidiya karti thi basera, wo Bharat desh hai mera. So to make it a Puna Vishwaguru, we got to understand over here, ladies and gentlemen, and over here, under micro, small, and medium enterprise, our chamber, along with the young, vibrant lyricist, that means composer, musician, who has given the music and who has given the entire vocal cord, all three by one, because the future is you've got to have less people, but more output and the creativity. We dedicate to this nation, we dedicate to India, we dedicate to entire country from our side, from our chamber, along with Mr. Sumit Khajuria, this particular song to the nation, and that is India's first song on making India Vishwaguru. When we talk about, ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very important for all of us.
विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो। विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो। शिक्षा के पथ पे आगे बढ़ कर, शिक्षा के पथ पे आगे बढ़ कर सबका ही कल्याण करो। भारत का सम्मान करो, भारत का सम्मान करो। आर्यभट्ट से उज्जवल शिक्षक पूर्ण जगत में छा जाओ। आर्यभट्ट से उज्जवल शिक्षक पूर्ण जगत में छा जाओ। श्रेष्ठ वर्ग के तारे बनके अपना नाम भी चमकाओ। विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो। विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो। शिक्षा के पथ पे आगे बढ़ कर, शिक्षा के पथ पे आगे बढ़ कर सबका ही कल्याण करो। शंखनाद से सकल जगत में गौरव में गुणगान करो। गगन कल्पना एपीजे कलाम और भगत सिंह बन जाओ। साहस भर के झांसी जैसा जीवन का बलिदान करो। गगन कल्पना एपीजे कलाम और भगत सिंह बन जाओ। साहस भर के झांसी जैसा जीवन का बलिदान करो। विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो। विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो। भारत का सम्मान करो, भारत का सम्मान करो, भारत का सम्मान करो, भारत का सम्मान करो।
I just wanted to share with all of you so that you get an idea what exactly we have got in this particular program. What is this basically song? This is dedicated to entire India, ladies and gentlemen. And this song, when we talk about, this is something which you have to understand. Anything is possible, whether pandemic or no pandemic, whether corona or no corona. If you want to do something, nobody can stop you. So thereby, all of us think innovative, think creative, think collaborative, think out of the box. There is so much which we all can do. We supported this young boy and we just gave him the idea that we are interested. And this is, just imagine, this is the first rough cut which we have brought over here. We will just launch it formally on 5th of September on India's Teacher Day. But what I'm sharing with you is, It is just an inspiration. It's just a creativity which we want to share with everybody. So, well, today we have got a micro, small, and medium enterprise session. So, let me extend a very hearty welcome to Ravindra Nath, the former chairman and managing director, National Small Industries Corporation, which is under Ministry of Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise. A very hearty welcome to him. He is the person who is basically advising, and he is the advisor for this particular series or this particular program and this particular shankla which is moving ahead. So world over, people, those are interested to get something on micro, small, and medium enterprise, I will always put across to Ravindra Nath. He served as a chairman and MD for the National Small Industries Corporation, a public sector enterprise of Government of India till September 2018. Besides this, Shri Nath, he held senior positions of corporate, head of the finance in public and private sector. Shri Nath has over 3 decades of experience in various areas of finance, accounts, and management. And ladies and gentlemen, by profession, he is a chartered accountant as well. Shri Nath has worked on various initiatives to achieve inclusive growth in the country, particularly in the micro, small, and medium enterprise. Mr. Nath, he was actively engaged in promotion and development of MSMEs, and he is also, as well as entrepreneurship development, creativity, collaborative environment to promote technology transfer, joint ventures between MSME both in India and overseas during his tenure with the Ministry of MSME. Shri Ravindra Nath, he has been conferred with several awards, including CMD of the Year Award in June 2015 for his exemplary role in promotion and development of MSME sector in India. Ladies and gentlemen, Outstanding Leadership Award conferred by the 4 and the top rankers in 2018 for achieving business excellence through creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship. A very hearty welcome to Shri Ravindra Nath. Along with him, he has got 2 other distinguished guests. We extend a very hearty welcome to Mr. Arvind Raghavji. He is the co-founder and the CEO, Bright Beginning Private Limited. Name itself is so bright, and the beginning also. He started his professional career in the 1996 with a Tata Group company and also worked with various MNCs, including a French company that is Sodexo. In 2017, Mr. Raghav joined an Italian company, CRIF Gulf, an end-to-end knowledge company known for its management of credit bureaus across the globe. Mr. Arvind, based out of Dubai, was in charge of handling the Middle East and Sub-Saharan African operations for the company. Mr. Raghav has been part of some path-breaking initiatives like formulation of a very unique and innovative scheme for rating of SSIs, that is small scale industries when we talk about, later called MSMEs, with the Ministry of MSME, creation of India's first and only rating agency for MSMEs, SMERA. After spending over 25 years in the corporate world, Mr. Arvind has now become a startup entrepreneur, having set up an electronic manufacturing plant, Bright Beginning Private Limited, under the Make in India initiative of Government of India to promote local manufacturing and generate employment. Hearty welcome. What a pleasure. Ravindra Nath, I'm proud of you. Thanks for bringing Arvind Raghavji. We have also got this evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mrinal Singh. He's the director, Lexus Corporation Solution and Vision One Training and Advisory Private Limited. Mr. Mrinal has 2 decades of experience of having worked with MSMEs in the space of information and credit rating and financial consultancy. Since 2019, Mr. Mrinal has donned the new avatar of an entrepreneur by starting his own consultancy company, Lexus Corporation Solutions and Vision One Training and Advisory Private Limited. Through this company, Mr. Mrinal is actively engaged in providing financial solutions to MSMEs, including meeting credit needs, arranging resources through banks and financial institutions, as well as providing resolutions with regard to their financial stressed assets. What a pleasure. What a pleasure to have these dignitaries. So ladies and gentlemen, like it happens in the media entertainment industry, You always drop the curtains and bring the warriors and the celebrities right on the main center stage. And here I drop the curtains and I get Shri Ravindra Nath ji, the former CMD of the NSIC. Sir, I would request you to kindly unmute your mic, and thereafter we start this particular evening, and kindly take on the field, sir. Today I took little extra time because some new people have joined. Those basically understand French language and Spanish language. So I wanted from the slides, they should understand very well. They are the native of certain places, particularly in Latin America. My Pratap Singh ji, who is the chairman of Latin America based out of Peru, he brought a lot of people today. So with these words, I hand you over to Shri Ravindra Nath ji.
Thank you, Dr. Gulshan Sharma. It's always a pleasure listening to you, and we always get charged with the type of energy, the type of exuberance, and the type of passion you carry. I also take this opportunity to welcome my two co-panelists, and it is a matter of great pride for me that I'm sharing this program. It's indeed a great delight for me to be with them. It has been, our association has been over 2 decades, and once you hear them, you will get to know how much intensity they have, how much experience they have about the Indian MSMEs, the world MSMEs, and I will keep that as a secret. So thank you, Arvind ji, thank you, Mridal ji, for being on this program today. It's truly a great honor for me to be with you on this program. Before I start, I would express my greetings to all the participants from all over the world, as Dr. Gulshan Sharma has introduced us to them. Thank you so much. And before I start, let me say that the topic of this program, the ratings, its relevance for MSMEs, is as relevant today as it was at any other time in the past. You were mentioning about so many countries from Europe, from Africa to Southeast Asia, and all over the world. And one thing which really unites us with them is small businesses. If you look at the statistics, you will find that the small businesses are the backbone of any nation. I am reminded of a study of 2017 which said that small and medium business enterprises account for nearly 90% of global businesses and almost 50% of the worldwide employment. And it is this what makes people looking at the economic activity around the world say that small business is big business. In India, it's no different. The micro, small and medium enterprises, just like the population, is only second to China. If I look at the statistics of 2019, India has more than 63 million MSMEs. And the small enterprises, as per a study, had a fixed asset value of over 2 trillion Indian rupees. 2 trillion Indian rupees. And that is why it holds true for MSMEs in India when it is said that small things make the largest impact. But Indian MSMEs are a heterogeneous group with idiosyncratic business models and risk models. The peculiarity is that most of them are unregistered enterprises with hesitations and avoidance of the registration processes. I'll just take a minute to share with you some of the very interesting data of the 63 million plus MSMEs. All this is before the new definition of the MSMEs has been brought in by the Honorable Minister of MSME. But if I look at the data of the 63 million, only 6% were registered enterprises. And my purpose of sharing you this data is, looking at the data itself, we will be able to make out how much relevant the rating will become. Because rating is not merely a stamp about whether you are A plus or B plus. There's a lot more which goes into that. Only 6% were registered enterprises, that is 94% were unregistered. 95% fell into the micro category, 4.8% into the small, and only 0.2% into the medium. 52% of the MSMEs are in rural areas, 71% in the service sector, and 95% were organized as proprietorships. But still, MSMEs are important because they have the potential to promote employment in rural areas. You just saw what happened to the migrations which were there. The number of migrations and the return back is at times worrying the government. If you have more employment being promoted in the rural areas by the MSMEs, there will be less stress on urban migration. And also, India is a land of traditional skills, and it is only the MSMEs who have the resources to build on that. But still, when millions of companies are the backbone of the Indian economy, despite its importance, this sector struggles with a lot of problems. Problems with respect to unavailability of adequate and timely finance, high cost of credit, lack of skilled human capital, unawareness of government schemes, lack of modern technology, lack of suitable market and infrastructure facilities. All these studies, which have been done from time to time, they have brought out various constraints, but the primary one being the lack of timely and adequate finance. Even today, at the time when the government has come up with such a big package, there is only one thing which was worrying the MSMEs: the liquidity with respect to their working capital and finance being injected by the banks. If you look at some of the figures with respect to that, 93% of the MSMEs do not access any outside funding. It's only 5% who use institutional finance and only 2% who use non-institutional finance. And even among the registered MSMEs, only 11% access institutional finance. Of the financing available, only 22% is catered by formal sources of finance. The balance comes from self-finance or informal finance. So access to credit and the risk associated with the small and medium-sized enterprises is one of the most challenging tasks in banking. And largely it is attributed to the paucity of information, the lack of sufficient financial information to understand their past performance and potential cash flows. Regardless of the industry, they are more often affected by economic cycles than larger firms given their size. Keeping all this in mind, government has been paying more attention towards strengthening of the sector and introducing many policies and schemes. In July 2017, the country had replaced the multiple indirect taxes with a single unified tax called the Goods and Services Tax. The purpose largely was that it will create a database of units who are doing all these businesses and coming on a platform. But to create a uniformity in treating the SMEs as a whole, lots of initiatives have been taken by the government, and one of these strong initiatives is the credit rating for the SMEs. Even in the past, there have been the ratings being carried out, largely to address the information asymmetries prevalent in the sector. The corporates, if you look at their requirements, they are required to get the ratings done to avail additional borrowings from the banks, and it becomes a mandatory procedure for getting all kinds of support from the banking sector. But when it comes to SMEs, there was no such criteria there in the past. It's only in the recent times that all these things have been done. The SME sector, with its unique features, unlike the corporate sector, has no organized information. This is what the bankers say. No organized information on industries, on the functional details, on the market shares, on the competition dynamics, the promoter or the management track record. As I said, 95% are all sole proprietorships. The man struggling to make both ends meet. And it was this that in 2004-05, a scheme called the Performance and Credit Rating was announced in order to enable the registered micro and small enterprises to obtain the credit ratings. The scheme had been formulated in consultation with the various stakeholders, such as industry associations, the Indian Banks Association, the leading rating agencies, the CRISIL, the Dun & Bradstreet, the ICRA, and later on a few more got added like SMERA and others. But the rationale was the credit ratings would enable such enterprises to obtain cheaper and faster financing from the banks. In 2017, the scheme was again changed and was kept open only for micro and small enterprises who have a turnover of at least 10 million rupees. There have been several success stories, several which my co-panelists will also be sharing. But I'm reminded of a story of a Chennai-based businessman who was in the automobile components accessories manufacturer. He narrated that he was tired of dealing with the banks because the banks refused to extend the support for further capital for expanding his business. He says the banker could understand the model of his business and he was finding it difficult to explain in bankable terms. Then he realized the performance and credit rating scheme. And on getting in touch with the credit rating agency, the feedback enabled him to improve the company's efficiency, resulting in better turnover and profit, enabling him to get a bigger debt for his expansion programs, and as a result, the company began to grow. This is basically the status of most of the MSMEs today. The challenge becomes even deeper in today's times when the pandemic has had a big dent. But I'm also reminded of the times when this performance and credit rating was brought in. The rating agencies that provided the ratings also had a tie-up with several banks to offer preferential interest rates to the micro and small enterprises based on the ratings. I remember the band which most of the banks based on the ratings gave was from 0.5% to 1.25%. And in many cases, the savings reduced the borrowing costs. The savings from the reduced borrowing cost was more than the rating fee which was borne by the micro and small enterprise. The rating obtained by the MSE was also submitted along with the tender participation they did, and it helped them in getting bigger orders. There are a lot of advantages which accrue, and I'm sure my co-panelists will be sharing on touching on more of them. But let us look at today. Let us look at some of the challenges which will basically be, I'll be handing over to my co-panelists in due course by throwing up these questions. Our Prime Minister talks of more vocal for local. He is very passionate when he talks about India as an Atmanirbhar Bharat. Our Honorable Minister for MSME has given a call for increasing the share of exports from MSMEs to 60% from the present 48%, in creating 5 crore more jobs in 5 years, in increasing the GDP from MSMEs to 50% from the present 30%. The Honorable Minister for MSME has also announced that the government is in the process of launching digital data-based credit ratings to enable them to get bank loans on the basis of the ratings. See, these are all very, very important, relevant points, which I'm sure my co-panelists would be touching upon as to how, with their vast experience, they'll be able to guide MSMEs to withstand the challenges and the fears of getting rated, and also encourage through the rating mechanism to work qualitatively, more efficiently, which will make the sector to gain and create a new era in the Indian economy. In getting the finances at a relatively low cost, and how the rating policy interventions will give a boost to the sector and thus facilitating and creating more employment. The Honorable Minister for MSME talks about increasing exports, and above all, it will help in creating a database of healthy MSMEs. More so at a time when India, every sector is creating tremendous business opportunities. The world is looking forward to India and perhaps wants to know as to how many and where all are these companies where they can make a tie-up with. With this brief background, with this little introduction of what happened, I will now like to request Mr. Ravindra to share his experiences and also how rating can really turn around the MSEs or the MSME sector per se in even the present times. Over to you, Arvindji.
Thank you, Shri Ravindra ji, and thank you, Dr. Gulshan Sharma. Thanks for such a kind introduction. It was really, for me, this is the first webinar that I'm attending of the ICSI, but to know about ICSI, it's such a pleasure, knowing what all you've done, and especially in the current times. Sir, I'm not going to focus on the scheme part as such, because that Mr. Ravindra has already given a detailed explanation on the importance of the scheme. I am going to talk more about
Can you come more near the mic, or can you increase the volume, please? Because
sure,
people are just writing in the Facebook chat to me that we are unable to hear him.
That's okay. Am I audible to others? Yes. I have come nearer to the...
Yes, now it's better. Now it's
okay, better. Sure. And I'll be louder.
Very kind. Okay.
Yeah. So I will focus more on as an entrepreneur, which is my new role as a SME company that I'm running. To give you a background, I mean, you've given my introduction. I was involved in the formation of this scheme with under the guidance of Shri Ravindra ji, where we had this performance and credit guarantee credit scheme that we had launched with NSIC as a nodal agency and with Ministry of MSME as a owner of that scheme, wherein SMEs found that very useful in terms of both getting credit and getting the market. Now, as I moved from Dun & Bradstreet to my company in Dubai, which is an Italian company called TRIF, and I was responsible for the business in the Middle East and Sub-Saharan region. There, each and every association that we were talking to, and I would specifically want to give an example of Egypt, people were so impressed with the scheme that most of them had actually written to the government, their own government, to come up with this subsidy scheme, because there can't be anything more helpful to a SME than this. And I can say this with confidence today, because I am really going through, I would say the pain and pleasures both that a SME owner goes through. Coming to what in my new role, what are the challenges that I am facing mainly? We started as an organization, we started in the last September is when we started our business, and a lot of entrepreneurs go through this. We decided to put in our own funds to start with, and we had a full business plan in place, whereby we were hoping that we will have break even coming in the next in the first about 9 months time. That was the plan. And then we had taken a contingency of 3 months, and then we said 1 year we are going to break even. We started, fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know, that time we decided, because, I was actually at that time planning to return back to India. And in the month of September last year is when we went live with our production. I started this manufacturing unit of electronics, whereby we manufacture mobile phones, power banks, chargers. And as the luck would have it, September we started, and November the problem started in China. At that time, China was the place where we were importing most of our components from. So November the problem started. We lived with it for 2 months, hoping that the things will improve. And by Jan, Feb, by the time things started getting better in China, we had our problems starting in India. And with March, the lockdown starting. And we all know the problems that SMEs faced. Now, we had put in all our money, 2 months, almost two and a half months, everything was in the lockdown. And when we started, all the issues that, Shri Ravindra ji also just mentioned, whether it was of manpower, whether it is about finance.
I'm so sorry, Arvind ji. I'm so sorry. Your voice has again gone down. Voice has gone down because people are writing to me in the chat box, please.
Okay,
they want to enjoy your talk very well. They want to perceive it very well. They are finding it difficult because somewhere the volume is very important, volume.
Okay, sure. I understand, sir. But yes. How is it with you and other panelists?
With me, I can, because I feel that I can manage. But
Okay.
somewhere people sitting across the Latin America particularly,
Okay.
because the language issue and otherwise, so we
Yeah,
got
yeah, yeah. I understand, sir. I understand.
so
Okay.
little louder.
Okay, sure, sir.
Thank you.
So, all the problems and, as when I was working as an, working for a company which was providing ratings, there were the challenges that we used to always discuss with the owners. But those challenges, how big those could be, is something that I realized when I myself became an entrepreneur. And the more time I'm spending here, the more I am realizing and understanding the importance of the rating scheme and how important it is. I mean, ratings is something from day one that we start going to school, we start getting rated. So it is something which is in our DNA, but the real importance of it you face or realize when you actually are in the thick and thin of business. So as I was saying, all the issues that Shri Ravindra ji spoke about, employment generation, generating foreign exchange reserves, everything that we speak about that SMEs do, we are in a trade where we go through that day in and day out. Now, as I was saying, the challenges and how these challenges can be mitigated or met. When we spoke about, as I said, we were importing some of these kits from China, and then the issue was there. And when the lockdown happened, during those 2 months, we were sitting at home and working on what do we do now, because this was an unprecedented time, an unprecedented challenge. And for us, all the more because we had just been thrown into the pool and we didn't know how to swim. We only had seen it from outside. As I said, as somebody who was in the rating scheme, I was an outsider advising and talking to companies. But when I was in the pool myself, then I realized how difficult and how painful it was. So we decided that we have to have something to counter the challenges that we had at that time. And for that, we decided to come up with a new product, which was to take care of the coronavirus. And we started working on it. There we were importing some of the materials from South Korea. That was the first time I realized the importance of the rating scheme, because wherever we went to for opening the LC, whether it was of the overseas company or for us, the bankers, the first thing that they would ask for is what is our rating. And we had, despite being from the industry, I had not gone in for rating, also because we had just started. So I thought that, of course, rating has always been on my mind, but I was always under the impression that maybe 1 year, 1.5 years down the line, once we have the profitability, we'll go for it, and that will be the time to get a good rating and showcase. But now I realize that I should have actually gone it for it the moment we started production, because even if it was not a rating, there would have been some of these companies giving in the detail about what we are doing. It would have helped anyway. So we had those issues with the opening of LC because we did not have a rating. My customers had a bigger my suppliers had a bigger issue, because their bankers were also not willing to help with the documentation part, because they said that that company, it is an unknown new company. How do I trust them? So this trust factor, which is such a big thing that is being taken care of by these ratings, is something that as a challenge which had put us on a lot of issues we had anyway. That still, whether we those have been taken care of completely or not, that is still out. So that happened when we were importing. Then when the product was ready and we had some distributors, we had global distributors. So for our product, because we have a clear certification from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, saying that our product, which is largely on the sterilization, is taking care of the coronavirus. That report was given to our distributors out there. But when they wanted to import from us, again, the rating issue came up, because for them also, they did not want to pay in advance. They also wanted the LCs to be opened, but the bankers asked for a rating for us. And again, this became such a big challenge. So now I am seeing, when I am doing this, into an international trade, when you are going, whether you are an importer or an exporter, a rating is mandatory. Now I come to the post-lockdown and current scenario. Current scenario, the lockdown, of course, that business is continuing, the UVC business. We are doing our mobile and other electronics manufacturing business. And at that time, we started talking to some of these large global players. And fortunately, a couple of them actually got ahead. We've signed NDAs with them, and we are moving forward with coming into their supply chain. But these large organizations, and I'm talking of the world's top companies, these organizations, the kind of vendor evaluation that they ask us to, even the form when we see, now I realize that, Mr. Ravindra once mentioned that, the pain that the SMEs go through. Now, every day is a challenge in the life of a SME entrepreneur. Now, every morning when I go out and I have, just to get those forms filled, one is that you cannot rely completely on, even your own chartered accountant, because there are things that as a business owner. Now, getting those forms filled was such a big challenge, but there were two things in it. First was, if we had a rating, the first part is that, what is the rating by some of those reputed rating agencies. If I had that, I would have put that, and rest, everything would have been taken care of. Since I did not have it, I had to fill that 20-page form, and that form, the kind of information that was needed by them. And especially when we are struggling, we have about, employment. I would want to again go back to the employment part. When the lockdown happened, we had at that time 294 employees on our rolls. When the lockdown got over, we had only 41 in the company. And this is when all 294 were paid salaries even for the lockdown period. But when the factory started on the 23rd of May, we had only 41 employees left with us. Rest all had moved back to their native places. And that was also a time where, because of the gap of 2 months, the product not being in market, there was a huge requirement. But we did not have the manpower, the skilled manpower. The challenge was there. Okay, coming back to the rating part, if with these companies I had a rating, I did not have to go through that, filling those 20-page forms. But when we have done it today, fortunately, and hopefully we'll very soon be suppliers to them. But I know that if I had a rating, if I had done that exercise, it would have been a big help, and it would have become so easy for me to be a part of that chain rather than go through this entire process. Coming to the banks, I went to we had, as I said in the beginning, we had decided that we will put our own funds and we will not go for bank finance only till the time that, we go in for a major expansion. Today, we are in a situation where for this expansion, and if we have to be part of these global supply chains, we would need funds. Again, the challenge is wherever we have gone to banks, they have asked for ratings. We do not have it. I am saying, as somebody who has been, I am still a well-informed entrepreneur in terms of the advantage and benefits of having it, despite that I have committed that mistake. Whether it would have helped or not, I do not know, because it's a fact that, if you are just a startup and you've just started, getting a good rating also is an issue. So I'm not even going there. But assuming that I had a rating, and which was a decent rating, life would have been much more simpler for me. My business would have grown better than what it is currently. And now my focus is very clear that we are about to complete a year with our balance sheet, the first year's balance sheet showing some profit. It is not much, but whatever it is, I would want to definitely go in for a rating as soon as possible, so that going forward in expansion, I do not have to face this problem. I would once again like to thank Shri Ravindra ji for being a guiding force for that rating scheme, because something as innovative, as unique as this has not been seen anywhere in the world. And people do realize, they know the advantages and benefits of rating. But the moment you get to know that, there could be a scheme like this, that's an icing on the cake. And it really is the real help that the government can provide to SME entrepreneurs. I would say even bigger than this 200,000 crores or 20,000 crores that has been spoken about. So that's it for me, from me, and I've spoken more as an entrepreneur and less as a rating person. But that's also because the next speaker, which I think, sir, you would be introducing, or Mrinal, who comes specifically from a rating company, I think he will be in a better position to talk about it. So thank you.
Mrinalji, I'm sure we have held you because you have to go somewhere at 8 o'clock, but over to you as quickly as you can. But your share of experience we should not be depriving all our participants world over from hearing from you. Over to you, Miralji.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Perfectly
Okay.
fine.
Yes,
Perfectly
you are.
fine.
Oh, perfect. So at the outset, a very a warm welcome to people at different timelines from wherever they are, and a big thank you to in the order to Shri Ravindra ji for having me as a part of this deliberation. As Arvind mentioned, it's an eye opener as to what ICSI does, and my compliments to Dr. Sharma for that. We've all overshot time, so keeping away, not keeping people too long. When it comes to performance and credit rating, I think the genesis has been explained as to how it started in India, and the two people who were very closely involved in initiating that are the co-panelists that I have. So this was as much known to Arvind as initiated by Raviji during the NSIC days. But what I can actually put forward to give the essence around how it works and what really it should have been, and it is envisaged as, I will just read a small paragraph from what Mr. Sri S.S. Mundra, he was the Deputy Governor that time at RBI, and he had come out with a thought on MSME ratings in 2017. And this paragraph practically sums up everything that we want to understand and know as to why the rating is there. He says a credit rating can make an MSME unit's access to financial services more efficient as it provides transparency, helps overcome perceived uncertainty in lending decisions, and thereby reduces time and transaction costs. MSMEs can use ratings to enhance their credibility with other counterparties too. A related aspect that the lenders need to be mindful is that MSME is a vast universe comprising of several million micro enterprises without elaborate systems of account keeping. Hence, the standard ratio analysis would be in effective mode while appraising their credit proposals, and that is where an MSME rating can come in. Now, whatever we have discussed so far and whatever we feel should be the entire gambit of an MSME rating is actually summarized in this one paragraph, coming right from the horse's mouth, as we say it, from a person who was chairman of a large public sector bank and then went on to as a deputy governor in RBI. So essentially, when we talk about rating, a lot of MSMEs have this tendency to take a step back, thinking that, oh, if I'm going to get rated, what if I get a negative rating? Or what if I get a rating which is not up to the mark? The point is, if you don't get yourself rated, like what Arvind just said, that, being from the industry and having seen it all, despite that, he chose and he feels now the requirement of a rating. The fact is, if you don't do it the first time, you will not come to know where you stand. And when we talk about rating for MSMEs as they are being looked at or as they were being looked at, it was not only about ratings for financial needs. These ratings were conceptualized with the word performance in it. So that performance aspect was as important for a promoter as it was for the lender. That is when the rating, we always used to, consider the performance and credit rating for MSMEs as much a requirement from the owners or the promoter's perspective as it is from a lender's perspective. From a lender's perspective, this rating, which was subsidized through NSIC by the ministry till 2000, I think 18 is till when it was there. There were close to around 2 lakh entities across the country in the whole spread of time that got themselves rated. Raviji mentioned, rightly so, that there were banks which had actually outlined, rate of interest benefits for people who or companies who got themselves rated. There were various banks. Now we are down to just 10, and it's shrinking every day. But there were various banks which had given benefits and rightly so, the benefits were much more than the cost of the rating. So people had repeatedly started coming to get themselves rated. You know that you need the rating and you are happy or you want to continue when you have the repetitiveness around it. Even today, when we don't have any government subsidy, we don't have any, activity which helps somebody reduce costs. It's important for people to know that the SME rating still exists for a lot of banks, even today. In India, if you go to places like Bank of Baroda or a Citi, if you are carrying an SME rating, they have different criteria to gauge you based on that rating. And if you don't have it, they will go ahead and ask any of the rating agencies to provide an SME rating on your company. So it is not that the rating has disappeared. That SME rating still exists. There are two kinds of rating. I mean, that will become a bit technical, but the MSA rating is one part of the rating story. There is something known as bank loan Basel rating. These are ratings which banks ask for when they have exposures principally above 10 crores with any company. Some banks had it at 5 crores, they have gone back to 10 crores. There are some larger banks which have increased that requirement to 25 crores. So that's why I'll not delve too much into that part of it. But in that rating, when you have turnovers or when you have exposures with banks of this kind, your lending is purely dependent on the outcome of the rating. So it's important for us to understand that ratings on either side, whether a large company, a medium company, or a small company, they all have their own benefits and they all have a requirement that should be there. And most importantly, as a promoter, it's important for me to understand where I stand. This is a third party perspective about your business. You know what you're doing, you know, everything that you have been doing, how it works. But it's always good to let somebody else and come in and tell you that yes, what you're doing is either correct or what you're doing needs some improvement. And as Arvind mentioned, when you do global trade, rest assured, any global trade that you get into, there will be counter checks on you. Rightfully, you should be wanting to find out the credibility of an overseas company. Overseas companies definitely check upon you before they get into doing business, no matter how long you have been doing business. It's a myth that I've been dealing with somebody for 20 years. They did not want to find out about me. There are hundreds and hundreds of stories in these 20 years of experience that we have seen where people have been dealing for eternity, but still every year the counterparty check does happen. So these ratings that are there, they also play a role in helping you keep your information updated, so that tomorrow if somebody wants to do business with you, you are able to provide a document which is a third party introduction about your company and not you talking about your company alone. And taking a cue from Dr. Sharma's vast introduction as to how many countries are involved in this entire sequence with ICSI. Let me tell you, in my stint just before I moved out last year, my last stint was with SMERA, now Equity Rating. I was actively involved with, trying to set up or trying to gauge the requirement of these MSC ratings in the countries, some countries in Asia Pacific, namely Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia. In fact, from Thailand and Cambodia, we really had interest coming in. So if ICSI wants to take the lead, or if Raviji can, try and see the opportunity to, because these were countries which were really interested to understand that how does India do it. They globally the same problems the MSMEs face, lending, and the same problems the financial institutions face, lack of information. There are just two things that are happening. Anywhere that there are MSMEs, they will always face a lending problem. And wherever there are lenders lending to these people, they will face a problem saying we don't get information. So the opportunity is there for such ratings beyond the Indian borders. There are, I mean, if you look at just our neighbors, we have rating agencies who have started operation in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal. They are following the footsteps of what we have been doing in India. So I would like to summarize by saying that entrepreneurs who are there please, rather than make it a reactive measure or a necessitated measure by lenders, take the opportunity and reach out and get yourself assessed. It becomes a tool for your growth, and it also becomes a tool that you can use with financial institutions and bargain, uh, depending on the rating scales that come out, for better lending terms for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Miralji. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ravindra, for your great inputs as an entrepreneur. You know, I'm sure you and Mrinal would have guided, assisted, and several tens and of thousands of people of MSEs would have moved through your hands their rating reports, their due diligence reports. But as they say, the wearer no wears the shoe pinches. And hearing you from your personal example, it is basically, it's a great lesson, I would say, for all those entrepreneurs across the world who have heard you, that how important, how significant rating mechanism is. While Mr. Arvind was mentioning about Egypt and Mr. Mrinal was mentioning about Thailand, Cambodia, and certain other countries in Southeast Asia, even I get reminded of our interactions with South Africa, interactions with Iran at that point in time. There were better relations, that both these countries wanted to replicate India's performance and credit rating. I'm also reminded of one of the leading SMEs in our country, the president of a leading association, who said, well, the rating report is almost like my own body's, what you call the scans reports which I get, the lipid profile and the kidneys reports and all that. And when it becomes so mandatory for me to get, he was talking about an age of 40 and beyond, that it becomes mandatory that we should have our tests done, the scans done. Perhaps after the pandemic, it becomes even earlier that you must be in robust health and get your regular tests done. He was mentioning, why not my MSE? Why not my unit? Because it's equally important for them to declare that everything is in order. The technology is in order, the production is in order, the supplies are in order, the payments are coming back in order. Because it is not only the banks. Normally we relate a rating with credit only. And as Mrinalji also said, it was a performance and credit rating. And the purpose of having performance was that India is going to be a big hub of activity for manufacturing, for various foreign companies to come and set in over here. They have already started doing it, but post the pandemic, a lot more is expected. And whenever you deal with foreigners, with foreign companies, one thing which they require definitely is your rating report, your due diligence report. And I'm sure the information asymmetry which was there will definitely be addressed once this rating is brought back. We do not subscribe that there should be a subsidy attached to it. It is the government's decision to go ahead whether to give or not to give. But the scheme of performance and credit rating was brought in to evolve a culture of rating amongst the micro and small enterprises. It is that culture which is badly needed. The numbers which we had achieved so far were not great. People started confusing the rating mechanism with some of the algorithms which get created. Rating is and algorithms cannot be compared. Rating, I'm sure my two co-panelists would agree with me, goes much beyond that. It is not merely the data which needs to be analyzed in a computer format. It is your interactions with the staff, the space where he works, the owner, his background, everything. And then the rating is not merely that we go and tell him कि आपका cholesterol ज़्यादा है या आपका kidney functioning ठीक नहीं है. उसको बताना भी है कि भाई साहब अगर cholesterol ज़्यादा है तो उसको ठीक करने के लिए आपको ये चीजों की करने की आवश्यकता है. तो it's both that you get yourself diagnosed and then you come up with your remedial measures. There are several numbers of SMEs, the micro and small enterprises, who benefited out of this, who could scale up from one level to another because of the advantages which accrued to them as a result of the ratings they got. It was 1 year. At that point in time, the validity was 1 year because we gave a chance to everybody that if you are improving, we get to know and you get benefited. But if you are not improving, even then we get to know, and the world at large who is engaging with you also gets to know of it. With so much of investments coming in from the government itself going to be a big buyer of things. It requires accredited vendors. So what else than a rated vendor which gives a confidence to both the banker that he will be able to make the supplies if I give him the working capital credit, to the buyer himself that will, this fellow, this SME is an SME of standing. There would not be any hanky-pankies happening along with it. And if you are able to reach across to the world at large, and I say this because I came across several countries, several industry associations who wanted to build synergies with Indian SMEs, Indian MSMEs, because they found that Indian MSMEs are robust enough to share their experiences with them and to build synergies with them. We had tie-ups with Russian MSMEs organizations, with the Malaysian SME organizations, the South Koreans, and we were in conversation with Vietnam, with Bangladesh, and several others. So the culture of rating must come out. It becomes even more important. You know, today the trust factor is the biggest factor which keeps both at bay. The banker and the SME both complain. The banker says, I have no confidence. The SME says, the banker with everything good in me is still not giving. So what is the bridge? The bridge is the rating report. It speaks on behalf of both. It really saves the bankers, saves those who are appraising of the trouble which they might face after having. As Pranalji said, it's a trusted third-party opinion. And I'm sure in the days to come, even the government has taken steps. The GST itself is such a strong measure whereby the MSMEs are really gaining out of it. The returns of GSTs, the reports of GSTs are enough credibility factors which can be relied upon. But all these factors and several other factors beyond that is what goes into the evolution of a rating report. And Dr. Sharma, I would like to say, and through your offices, I would like to convey to our Honorable Minister for MSME that if the Indian MSEs, and especially the micro and small, have to be uplifted, have to be brought forward, have to be taken from one level to another, one of the tools which can be used is the rating mechanism. And I would again repeat, it has to be the performance and credit rating together. Because credit by itself would be throwing half the picture forward. Performance and credit will be giving a holistic view of the micro and small enterprise. And why not even include the medium? As Ravindra said, people across the world, wherever they would like to deal with an Indian company, definitely ask for its due diligence. And what better certification than the rating report which it is able to provide with. So on behalf of my co-panelists, I would like to thank Dr. Gulshan Sharma for providing us this opportunity. I would also like to thank my co-panelists for sparing their time and sharing with us their experiences. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
For giving us this
Thank
opportunity.
you, sir. Thank you.
Very kind of you. Sir,
Thank you,
I'll
sir.
take away only 3 words from you. One is Only the wearer know where the shoe pinches. Second part is, it is Mr. Arvind because I am not from the finance background and you understand finance very well. As a layman, as a Fauji, as if I want to be an entrepreneur, I just want to understand one small thing. We should take it up with the government immediately. That, of course, we will do it tomorrow itself on Monday. We should write to the Honorable Minister, Mr. Arvind Sharma, the new Secretary of MSME, also Mr. Devinder Singh, the new Development Commissioner and Additional Secretary in the Ministry from the Kerala cadre. So now what comes to my mind is that as a layman, I want to understand. We want to help MSME. We want to help people, those want to be doing startups and all. Can there be a provision and mechanism by the government that you don't go to a bank and some facility is being extended where the MSME is basically, or a startup is being supported by the government? I'm sure, sir, with your vast experience, we will be in a position to find out, because मैं तो भोगी भगत हूँ. I'm telling you today, banker, they are not going to support you. बाल की खाल निकाल के सरकार जितना मर्जी बता दे, जो मर्जी बता दे. But sir, bankers, they give you very tough time, very difficult time. And this rating and all that, everything, the government has got very good intentions. They want to support MSME. MSME are genuinely interested to become the startup, to take up the vision, everything and all that. Let's make a beginning tomorrow. Ganesh Chaturthi kal hui. Aaj second day hai, kal teesre din. I would request you, let's write to the government from the chamber side. Earlier, we have been knocking the doors and we have been sending white papers and action plans and roadmaps that service industry to be brought at par with manufacturing. Now I think, sir, the time has come. I personally understand and I appreciate Mr. Arvind Raghav's concern and his pain that if we really want to help startups, then there has to be a provision. Bank has to be avoided. I don't know, sir, what mechanism has to be done, which way it has to be done, but something has to be thought of, because the government intentions are very good. They want to support. They are already giving the money to the bankers. But it is the bankers, those basically are giving so much of pain and pinch. I don't know. But somewhere we have to think of. Mrinalji, if you are interested to do something in Cambodia, Laos, I will put you to the India, Cambodia, the Chamber of Commerce president tomorrow morning itself. Take on the further matters with him. He was in the webinar today at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time with us. So I will take you on over there. And to Arvindji, we have to facilitate. His point has to be taken, sir. You have to draft because nobody can draft, because fortunately, you are from the finance background. You are a chartered accountant. You understand things very well. Let's write to the Honorable Minister, Honorable Secretary, Honorable Additional Secretary tomorrow itself from the chamber, and let's take it up. We got to find the mechanism, because bankers, I have seen, sir, it's not that easy to deal with banks and to get the money from the banks, sir. It is very, very difficult. We got to somehow, and once the government is interested to support, we have to find the way, sir, how to go by. With these words, my deepest regards and thanks and gratitudes to you and to Arvindji and to Mrinalji. And thanks for joining us this evening, ladies and gentlemen. All of us, I do not know, you might be thinking all the times he has invited us, but he's looking at his mobile only. What do I do? Because everybody is on the chat party. Everybody is on the Facebook. They're asking so many questions, so many queries, and so many things are coming. You've got to take all of them from the world over. So with those words, with those thanksgivings, thank you very much for joining this evening. It's a pleasure. Your business should grow, your work should grow, India should grow. India once again has to come up, the new ventures, the new avenues and the new opportunities. And nobody else could have been better than to have Ravindra Nath ji right over here. The only thing is that was Ravindra Nath Tagore ji. Here is a Ravindra Nath ji Punjabi from Punjab. So these words, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Deep regards and great, great gratitudes to everyone.